Hello, everyone, and welcome to another year of Breezeway Productions, The Breeze, the first interview of 2022. Coming in hot, we have director Will Battersby and film subject Diane Shader-Smith to talk about their film that was coming out called Salt in My Soul. How are you guys?
Very well.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming on the show, and tell our audience a little bit about Salt in My Soul.
Shall I take this one, Diane?
Yes.
So Salt in My Soul is a feature-length documentary that is based on a posthumously published memoir of the same name by Diane's daughter, Mallory Smith. Mallory was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at the age of 3. The film is very much a kind of faithful retelling based on the memoir that Mallory wrote starting at age 8, if I'm right, Diane? I don't want to get that wrong. Diane hates it when I get facts wrong. But Mallory kept this extraordinary secret memoir from about the age of 8 when she first became aware of what that diagnosis meant, which meant, almost guaranteed that she would have an early death. And she kept that up until, she died from complications after a lung transplant. And the documentary, is very much a sort of a faithful telling of that.
Yeah, I was explaining before I started recording that it was a very strong learning experience because I did not really know that much about cystic fibrosis, and watching this film really gave me an insight into the lives of people that are surrounded by individuals that have cystic fibrosis. And Diane, I want to thank you for coming today and then sharing your story with Will. So I guess my first question would be, how did you and Will link up, and how did you trust him with doing this project?
Well, I'll start with the trust because that's the most important part of all of it. And actually, I guess I should first say she started writing at the age of 9 formally. She was informally writing much younger, but formally at the age of 9. But trust is a hard thing when it comes to your daughter's legacy, but Will earned it over time, and I didn't make it easy for him initially. I put him through some tests to make sure, and pushed him and provoked him and tried to make sure that he understood what it was that Mallory had tried to do in order to make sure that he captured it on film. And I think he did a magnificent job. It wasn't easy because there were so many pieces of Mallory's life and so many parts of the story. And shortly after he started filming, COVID hit. And so he had to reimagine what the plan was because there were so many people that could have been in the film that might have added a lot to it. But he did an amazing job of working around all of the challenges. And we have talked about the fact that in some ways the pandemic gave us the luxury of time to discuss. It gave Will an opportunity to really get to know the story, to earn my trust, to be in a position to actually tell the story. There's not very many people I would let speak on behalf of my daughter, but Will has carte blanche anytime, any place.
Thank you.
Wow. Those are strong words to say. Congratulations on the bond. It seems stronger than titanium, which is great to see. Will, when you were
not without some contentious moments. You can't just think it was love at first sight. It was hard fought.
Yeah. There was obviously you had to work your way into it. I'm sure that it took a lot of time to get the tenure in the relationship between each other. So when you were lining up your subjects for the documentary and that you were going to be doing those interviews, how did you know when and where to place them in between the notes and stories that Mallory was showcasing her story in the doc?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because you don't always know in advance. You have a very strong initial sense of who you need to interview. And Mallory's book is a wonderful blueprint for that. And Diane and I had extensive conversations, prior to us, beginning filming. We talked to Mallory's boyfriend, Jack, and then it was really about thinking, I knew it would be a fairly, it would have to be a fairly chronological story because you're dealing with the events that occur over a young woman's life. So it was important to have strong pivotal interviews for each moment, for each section. And I knew that, who the doctors were, the pivotal doctors along that path. And so that's kind of how we structured the initial interviews. And then the kind of the structuring of everything is so much, you find so much of it in the editing process. We try various things. We tried different structures. We tried slightly more abstract structures that weren't directly chronological. But it sort of felt a little bit cute. And then we, the big breakthrough was really finding the materials to allow Mallory to be the narrator, right? Because that's the amazing thing about, for me at least, that's sort of when I knew we had a real film on our hands, was when I started to hear all of the audio that she had recorded. She did podcasts, but she also recorded, every sort of rehearsal for a podcast, every outtake. She would record herself driving in the car when she was thinking about recording something. There was obviously the writing. And then, given her age, there was also all of the social media stuff, and
Right.
self, the self-recorded videos and things. So, that was sort of, it was, I think, 9 months of editing, myself and April, the editor.
Well, it turned out great. It was laid out wonderfully, where I was able to learn the medical terms of what was going on. I didn't know about any of the processes or rehab that she had to go to over the course of the time. And when you're talking about things that she mentioned while she was narrating the film, there was something that I wanted to ask you, Diane, about a moment that I thought was a real light that was like a shining light that happened. And it was your trips that you took to Maui, I believe that it was, or when she went scuba diving, and that every time that she was there, she felt that she would be healed and healthy, but she couldn't explain why, and they couldn't figure out why. Do you want to elaborate on that feeling and experience for giving her the health from doing that?
Sure. So before researchers discovered that kids in Australia with cystic fibrosis who surfed did better than any other population of kids in the world, we took her to Hawaii. And she just seemed better when she was in the ocean. And that's actually how we came up with the title, which I credit my sister with for coming up with Salt in My Soul. But it was the salt in the ocean and the salt in the air that thins the mucus, because kids with CF have a salt transport defect and it doesn't move around. And what that means is when you cough on a normal person and it gets into the air, a normal person inhales that and flushes it out just naturally. But in the lungs of CF patients, it becomes very thick and sticky from the mucus because of the lack of the salt movement. And that causes the repeated infections. So every time she went in the ocean, it cleared out her sinuses and her lungs, and she felt so much better. So that's why we kept going back.
It's good to see that science has progressed over the years, and we're understanding these conditions a little bit better because of people that are doing the research to hopefully get rid of it or to make it livable. I'll take my hat off to you and your husband and your family for going through what you did and the sacrifices that you made to take care of your daughter, to take her to countless doctors and treatments and how to live her life. And it was, it really rotated your life around it. So it takes a strong family to do that. So I want to thank you for creating this piece, so I was able to view it and learn and understand more about it. And we hope that our audiences can check it out as well. So once again, the film is Salt in My Soul, which will be released theatrically in New York in Cinema Village and Los Angeles at the Laemmle Royal on January 21st. It's followed by VOD release in the US, Canada, UK, and Ireland on January 25th. You can check it out on VOD platforms, Apple TV, iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Microsoft Xbox, and Vudu. And I wanted to thank both of you, Will Battersby and Diane Shader-Smith, for joining me today to talk about your film, Salt in My Soul.
Thank you.